semi-automatic shotgun that holds more than 5 shotgun shells. I know that's a lot of legal mumbo-jumbo. So what it means is this, a non-large capacity rifle or shotgun. You can have a bolt-action rifle with the FID card. You can have a lever-action rifle like the old cowboy guns. You can have a pump-action shotgun. You can have a hinge action, which kind of, they call them hinge action. They kind of break in half and it holds. Yes, you got it. And it holds 1 or 2 shells. The guys who do competitive shooting, the trap and skeet shooters, the Olympic shooters, those are hinge action shotguns that they use for trap and skeet. You can have those types of firearms. You can have a semi-automatic rifle that has only a 10-round magazine. Now there's a company out there called Ruger, and they make this model called the Ruger 1022. It holds 10 rounds of 22 caliber ammunition, and you can have that with an FID card. They also make a magazine that holds 25 rounds of the 22 caliber ammo, but you can't have that magazine with the FID card.
Now, if you go to the store to buy the magazines of the ammunition, do you have to show your card?
When you buy ammunition here in Massachusetts, yes, you do. I go to Walmart all the time, and there's a gentleman at Walmart who, when he sees me, he knows, and he knows I'm just checking out to see what the situation is on ammo. And before they, at sporting goods stores at Walmart, they'll have to check your ID before they can sell the ammunition to you.
All right, now let's say somebody's got that FID card, and they go in and they want a 25 ammunition clip.
Okay,
he has to show that card, and they'll know that he can't have one.
Yes, if they don't sell those at Walmart, but if you went to a gun store, they would check to see if it's legal for you to have that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And that's part of the dealer's responsibility. Right. So that's the FID card. The next license we have, I tell people it's kind of a nuisance. It's the Class B license. The Class B license allows you to have non-large capacity handguns, large capacity rifles, and large capacity shotguns. The Class B license means that there are some handguns that you can have and some handguns that you can't have. So if I've got a little semi-automatic handgun that only has 10-round magazines, that one would be okay to have. But I have some other I have a Glock, and I have some high-cap magazines for that. Well, the state considers the Glock to be a high-capacity handgun because it's easy to get magazines that hold more than 10 rounds for that. So the chief of police would trust me with a .357 Magnum revolver. He would trust me with a little, the semi-auto I have that holds 10 rounds, but he wouldn't trust me with the handgun that holds more than 10 rounds. So there's not a lot of towns that do the Class B license. The next license we have is the Class A license. The Class A license allows you to have large capacity rifles, large capacity handguns, and large capacity shotguns. That's the license that we have here in Massachusetts, that if you get a license that with no restrictions on it, that means you can carry concealed. If the chief of police puts restrictions on it, then he's saying, well, what do you want your license for? And maybe he's the sort of a guy who doesn't think that people should be able to carry a gun, when they're head to the grocery store. So he'll say, what do you want the license for? You say, well, I want it for hunting. And he says, okay. He'll put restriction on there for hunting. So that means the only time that you can, have your firearm outside of the house is when you're going hunting.
But how do they know you're going hunting?
Well, you tell. I mean, the application.
Hunting, but and what are you going hunting for? My next door neighbor,
Well, in order to go hunting, you actually have to sit through a hunter ed class in order to get a hunting license.
But I mean, if you've got this license and you're driving and he pulls you over for whatever, your tail lights out.
Okay, well,
and he finds out you got a gun, and he said, well, where are you going? And you say, I'm going hunting. How does he know where you're going?
Well, hopefully the police officer's a gun guy and he knows what's in season and what's not season.
Okay.
Turkey season actually starts this coming Monday. So if you got a bunch of camouflage on, you got a turkey shotgun in the back, then
you're pretty legit.
Right, it's okay. But if you've got the turkey, if you've got the turkey gun and you're dressed in a shirt and tie and a vest and you're heading off to work, you're probably not turkey hunting.
Yeah, not today anyway.
No, not at all.
Okay, all right.
So the chief of police can put restrictions.
You don't mind me asking these
questions. No, please, I don't mind at all.
It's my newspaper, my reporting mind.
Nothing wrong with that.
And my argument many times is, I see these reporters on television. They never ask the
question. They never ask any questions.
No,
this is true.
They just let the guy go.
Yep, exactly.
How does he know you're going hunting?
Exactly. So the chief of police puts restrictions on your license. So if you want to have it, when I first got my license, it was only good for sporting, which meant that I could only go back and forth to the range. And that's the chief of police in the town that I lived in at that time didn't want people carrying concealed. So he would give you a Class A license so you can have large capacity handguns and everything.
But only to use at the
but only back and forth
club.
to the range. You got it. That was it. And we moved a little further out west, and it's a little easier to get an unrestricted license here in here in these parts, which is cool. And the chief of police. The chief of police out here, they're more willing to say, all right, you want to carry concealed? Okay, knock yourself out. That's fine. Not a big deal. They won't put restrictions on it. But if you do something wrong, it's going to go back to the police. And, I tell people that if I'm carrying, I'm always checking to make sure that the gun's covered up. And I don't want somebody freaking out when I, raise my arm and my shirt to whatever, get the cereal off the top shelf and my shirt comes up and they see that I've got a gun on my hip. I use the other hand when I, grab off the top shelf.
I had a situation in my life. I owned a radio station at Killington, Vermont. And we used to broadcast live from a place called the Wobbly Barn, which was a nightclub. And people went there to drink after they skied all day.
Good deal.
And downstairs they had a nice restaurant, but upstairs it was a dance hall and 3 bars. We were in there one night doing a live broadcast, and the little girl in the coat room came running into Bob Evans, who was the manager's office, and she was white. And she says, someone just checked a ski jacket, and when I picked it up, it was heavy on one side.
Oh, boy.
And I went to go hang it up on the hanger, and it fell right off. And I looked in, and there's a gun in there.
Wow.
So Bob Evans says, where is the coat? She said, well, it's in the coat room. He says, all right, you stay here. I'll be right back. He went in, took the jacket, brought it back into his office.
Yeah.
And laid it down on his desk. Called the Vermont State Police. The state police came, and he checked the gun, and the pistol's loaded. 6 rounds.
Wow.
In the chambers.
Yeah.
So the first thing he did was unloaded it.
Right.
That's number 1.
Of course.
And he said, now we got to find this guy. He says, because if he's got a license, he's perfectly legal.
Right.
He says, shouldn't be in a bar room, with a loaded gun. But he said,
sure.
But he said, we've already solved that. It's no longer, he can't do any damage with this unless he's got more rounds.
Right.
So they poked around, and finally he was at the bar, and they found him. Because they kept asking.
Yeah.
And he finally said it was me. They brought the jacket in. Whose ski jacket is this?
Yeah.
And of course he said, well, it's mine. And they said, we need to talk to you. So they took him in the back room. The troop went out and checked his car. He had ammunition in the trunk. He was from Massachusetts. So right off the bat, Fox Bartley now jumps in.
Yeah.
And they asked him what he was doing with this. And he says, I was skiing, and I have to protect myself.
Right, from critters in the woods.
He says, what? You were skiing, and you had to protect yourself from who? And he says, you've been skiing all day with this thing? We are. And so the long and short of it is, they called the Massachusetts State Police, alerted them, gave him the gun back, took all the ammunition out of his trunk. Said, if you got anything else, any other ammunition anywhere,
right?
Because you're not leaving here if you've got ammunition.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not giving you the gun back. You're going to have to come back and with a state police officer and pick it up.
Yeah.
And he said, otherwise I'll give you the gun, but I want you out of here. Get in, go home tonight.
Right.
I don't want you
come
around
back.
here. And they did. And he took all his ammunition, gave him his gun back, and told him, get out of there. And the trooper said, first of all, the guy really, he's other than he didn't have a license. He says, didn't do anything illegally. He says he comes into a bar room with a loaded,
which is crazy.
And he says he's going to be drinking. He says, all I could think of, Bob Evans kept saying, all I could think of is he gets ticked at some guy at the bar, or he hits on some girl, and some guy.
And your boyfriend doesn't like it.
Your boyfriend doesn't like it, and he says, I'll be right back.
Right.
And he goes in and gets his coat, and cleans the bar out on me.
Now, here's what I try to tell people is if I'm a much more, I think I'm much more low key than I used to be before I started, I got into the shooting stuff and carry a gun. Because if somebody cuts me off on the road when I'm getting onto the pike, I'm going to let them cut in front of me. And if somebody, if I take somebody's parking spot, this is true. But I'm not like, I carry a gun to be able to protect me and my kids, and that's it. I'm not going to do it because somebody made me mad or because I'm flirting with some girl and her boyfriend wants to come beat me up or something like this. I try to avoid all those situations because I now, I pay attention to areas where I go to.
But Charlie, what comes down to, and it's obvious in the 55 minutes we've been chatting, that you're very responsible. And so there's no, you're a responsible gun owner. And the question then becomes for the rest of us who aren't gun owners, are you all responsible gun owners? You know,
Well, no, we're not. But there's, I don't think we should make it so that nobody can be
no,
responsible.
no,
gun
don't
owner,
get
you
me
know,
wrong.
not everybody is. Not everybody wears their seatbelt.
Yeah.
When I sometimes when I'm late,
How many people still text while driving? It's against the law.
It is, and it doesn't stop people from doing
No.
it. This is true.
They just keep their phone down lower.
They
you know?
do, and you can see when they're looking
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
You can see when you're driving.
Yeah.
Everybody texts. I don't know who. Yes, texting and driving is illegal, but people still do it.
One time, I got to take a great story. One time in my life, I was Commissioner of Highway Safety in Massachusetts many years ago. Governor Volpe appointed me before you were born. But anyway, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, calls me up one night, and it's about 9:30, and he was coming back from the Pittsfield area around the Mass Pike, and trooper pulled me over. He said, and boy, he said, I told him I had friends. I said, whoa. First of all, what did he pull you over for? Well, he said, speeding. Well, how fast were you going? I was doing 85. 85 on the Mass Pike? Yeah, he said, I didn't even realize it, Dick. I have a Cadillac. I said, time out. When you're going 85 miles an hour, you realize it. Let me tell you something. When you're going 85 on the turnpike and the speed limit's 65, I don't care what you're in, you realize it. And he said, well, yeah. He said, I was in a hurry. I said, well, and then you unload on the trooper. I said, you want me to fix the ticket? I said, he's the guy I got to call. I said, so you're done. And I said, I wouldn't fix it anyway.
Yeah.
You're going that fast. And I said, if you were doing 68, 70, he never would have stopped you.
Right,
I
exactly.
said, you deserve it, my pal. He didn't speak to me for 3 years.
Oh, jeez.
You know, was so mad at me. But it doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is, people do stupid things.
Oh, sure.
You know,
sure.
And I think a lot of times, what really happens, you know, and wishing we didn't, it's too late if somebody pays a price for it.
Oh, definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
And so we see these things where guys get get half in the bag in a bar, and they end up fighting somebody, and they hit a guy, knock him down, he bangs his head, and the poor guy, 2 days later dies.
Yeah, manslaughter.
You're up. You're gone. Your life is just destroyed over
Absolutely.
stupidity.
Yeah.
You know, and you can stand there and feel sorry and weep and moan, but you're done. You know?
Right.
And so tragic things happen, unfortunately. But to your point, it was a story the other day. You talk about road rage. Somebody cut somebody off, and they tooted the horn and gave them a flashing sign.
Showed them
all
who's
of a
number
sudden-
one.
Yeah, and there was a big story on the TV. The guy shows him a gun through the window, pulls out a gun, and
Oh, wow.
looks over at the person who just gave him the flashing sign and shows him a gun. Okay, the guy called 911.
Sure.
The cops were waiting for him.
Absolutely, and that's crazy to do that. That's the reason that if you carry a firearm for personal protection is it's your last ditch effort before you have to. I mean, I've never been in a situation, but everything that I've read and everything I've learned is it's either you are going to die or you're going to pull the gun out and shoot somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what it's for. It's not to intimidate people and scare people and get better parking spots.
Because that also
and
raises the
everything.
issue. Somebody does come to your door. We've had these sad stories where someone reacts too quickly.
Oh, yeah, that could happen too. Sure, definitely. But you got to be, if you're gonna have it for home defense, you should, or for personal protection, take a class on that so you know what to watch out for and
what to do and when it's real.
Right, and to keep some distance and keep some space and pay attention and look for other ways to get out. And
Charlie, thank you so much. It's been terrific. We've run out of time. Tell folks how they can get a hold of you.
You can get in touch with me by emailing personalshooting@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/personalshootinginstruction, or you can check out my website, personalshootinginstruction.com. And I look forward to meeting new people and teaching firearm safety classes.
One thing we got to do, I got to have you. Will you come back again and do it?
Absolutely,
again?
absolutely. This
Good.
is a lot of fun.
We'll get it. We'll get a time and have you come back, because it's an incredible conversation, and it's very, very important that folks begin to understand the scope of, quote unquote, the Second Amendment. And